Welcome back to the Voices of Women Summit, where in honor of International Women's Day 2023, we are raising the voices of hundreds of women so that their messages can be heard. Your host for this session is Jan Famari. Jan is a business consultant, trainer, and coach. She is the founder of Prosper Mind Wellness and creator of the Prosper Consciously show, scheduled to launch next month. She is another amazing guest coming right up. Take it away, Jan.
Thank you so much. Welcome, everyone, and happy International Women's Day. I do have an amazing guest here joining us for this wonderful session. It's Mary Elizabeth Jackson, and Mrs. Jackson is a wife and mother of three. Two of her children are on the spectrum. She is also an award-winning children's author and focuses on writing empowering books for kids. She is a multi-Amazon bestseller, anthologies. Mrs. Jackson is a certified disability and special needs advocate, and she co-founded and co-hosts two shows online, Writers Corner Live Network TV and Special Needs TV. She also started a new podcast called Cover to Cover. Mrs. Jackson is a ghostwriter, songwriter, educator, and speaker. She believes it is important to make every moment count. And with that, I'm so thrilled, honored, Mary Elizabeth Jackson come to the stage to speak with you all today.
Oh, Jan, thank you so much. And yes, it is such an exciting day for women everywhere. And we want to just celebrate who we are. And, someone told me once, one of the most powerful things that we do on this earth as a woman is give birth and birth a child and grow another human in the world. And so it's turned out to be a real passion for me in my life, making the family healthier, making me being healthier, my children being healthier, and this goes back to my childhood. I come from divorce. So there's that, you learn very early on survival. If anybody out there in the audience comes from divorce, I have a lot of compassion for you. And, then my father, the next thing that kind of happened was my dad left and he basically abandoned us, and he went and his work became his life. And so there was a great period of time that my father was not in my life. And so when that happens early in your life, you carry that with you forever. And until you can become empowered enough to heal yourself from that, or just be aware of it, that it's something that is with you, and it still kind of creeps up every once in a while, but it's part of the passion that I have for healing these things that we have in our lives. And as I grew up and then I got married and had my own children, I was told I couldn't have babies. And I had 4 pregnancies and 3 children. So for me, my parenting became very important to me. It's one of my main jobs in my life, and I take it very seriously. And I really love my kids. And I thought I knew what I was doing when I became a parent, because I had helped raise my brothers. I had had a daycare, I've been a nanny, all those things. I'm a firstborn child. I thought, oh, I'm going to do this parenting thing. I know how to do it. And life doesn't always end up the way we think it's going to. So I was given children, Jan said, I have 2 children on the spectrum. So all 3 of my kids are highly sensitive children. They have a lot of sensory issues. They're very empathic. They're very intuitive. And 2 of them have had incredible challenges in their life. So my parenting really took a different turn than I imagined that it would be. And it's very easy for us to get stuck in a place of being a victim about your parenting and the children that you have in this world, and feeling sorry for yourself. It's really super easy to be there. And I've had those times that have been really a struggle. But what I've learned along my journey is that, and this is part of what I teach, and because of my children, that's why I'm a certified advocate, is to help empower my kids. So research, and education are so vitally important when you have a child who has any challenge. I don't care what it is: depression, anxiety, ADHD. If they have a physical visible sign of a disability or challenge, any of them require us to step up as parents and be a different parent than what we might have imagined that we would ever be. Now, educating ourselves and empowering ourselves takes us from that victim place to a victor place. And it teaches our children how to do that too. And even if you have a child with a challenge, you should never tell them you can't do this because, you can't walk or you can't run or you don't have the understanding for it. No, we always encourage our children to try, to do their best, and to try things they might be afraid of trying, So part of my advocacy passion in my life goes back to my childhood as well. My mother was a trailblazer in her own right. I had no idea how it was going to affect my life at all. But here I am now, an advocate as well as the other hats I wear. But my mom went back to work when I was young in the school system, in the college system. And back then it was still called the handicap department. This was in the 70s. And there was really no programs for any of these folks at the college. So my mom came in to work at the college where we lived in Orlando, Florida, at a time that all the laws were coming in for IDEA and FAPE and all these things. And so she was able to get funding from the government to start all these programs for these individuals at her college. Now, she was a woman who had no idea what she was doing, no training in her background at all, but she was driven. Something inside of her drove her forward, and God led her and said, you put it on her heart. So you've got to do this. And she was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but she did it anyways. And I've had that happen to me several times in my life as well. So some of the programs she started are still used in the colleges today. And so growing up in our home, there was somebody who might be in a wheelchair or have cerebral palsy or whatever disability they had. They'd be at our dinner table with us as I was growing up. And my mother ended up being, with her psychology background, this kind of a home for people to come to, when they needed that shelter and that feeling of home and somebody cared about them. And like I said, I had no idea it was going to end up affecting me this way in my life, so that this is now part of my life, is helping with these things. My advocacy work has taken me in a lot of different directions, not only with my children, but with other families. And part of the reason I wanted to do that was because I felt so lost and alone myself on my journey. There was no book, there was no one to help me. I didn't know who to turn to and what to do. So I have now, in my work, part of what I feel is really important, and I'm going to go into a couple of tips here for parents and for children, and things that can be implemented and started right away and very easy to use, because we're given a family for a reason. It's the first relationships that we have in this life, and it was designed to help us learn how to act in the world and how to be with someone else and how to interact and resolve conflict. And we don't all get that. A lot of us come from brokenness. Yes. And we come from brokenness. So we don't have a role model to show us what we're supposed to be doing. My father didn't have that. So he didn't get to be a great father in this life. And as I'm older now, there's forgiveness that's happened because I'm able to understand that he did not get that. And so my mother has the broken family in her side of the family. My father did, my in-laws do, so my husband and I felt like it was really important for us to try to break that, what you call that 7th generation cycle with our family, and teaching our children family is at the core of your life. And even though sometimes it's ugly, it's not perfect, because by no means are we perfect. We have our issues. Everyone has their challenges, but we learn to work it out. And so by me doing some of the things that I'm going to talk about today, then I teach my children how to do the same thing so that they can be healthier in their life. So
you set a great example. I have a question for you, if I may, about how, and it must have been so challenging. How did you find the information that you needed? If there was no book, if there wasn't support out there, when you first went look? How did you go about finding the resources, the support that you needed?
Well, and that's a good question. So some of that ended up coming from the pediatrician, not the first time around with my oldest daughter, because I was just told that her sensory issues and texture sensitivity she would outgrow. Well, she never outgrew it. She's 22 years old and she still deals with sensory issues, but educating myself and being able to educate her, she has tools she can use that, like she'll text me and say, Mom, I'm having a day right now. I'm having sensory day. I'm in sensory overload. So we have these open conversations. What that does with your child is allow them to have a voice. We all want to be heard, no matter what it is, even if somebody's screaming or they're not screaming, or what they say in the moment isn't how they really feel, but they just need to get it out and be heard. So along my journey, I began looking into things. I did Google things. I did search out specialists in the areas that my children had issues. We worked with a lot of OT therapists, speech therapists. So I have 2 children who've been through that whole route of being diagnosed and having therapists. And the therapist had a lot of information for me that I would then implement in our home when they were not there. So I was learning as they were teaching my child, which was just magnificent. And, I have a lot of, and have had a lot of sensory type toys in our home over the years, because really we're sensory beings and we take in the world 9 different ways. So all of us, I don't care if you're typical, what would be considered typical or non-typical, we all could use a stress ball sometimes. We all could use a fidget spinner, okay?
True.
And the older we get, we get where, like, I'm 55. I'm not going to go into a really huge crowd of people with loud music and noises, right? Because I'm just at that place. I don't want all that noise. I was on a field trip with my son a week and a half ago to the science center, and it was sensory overload. I was like, whoa, okay, we're not coming back here for a while because it was just too much. But, it's part of the things that are important is for us to also understand, how do we operate? How do we, what makes us work? What makes us, what triggers we have, and part of that is awareness. There are A's that I have used in raising my children. And but back to your question, so I had, the OT therapist, speech therapist, physical therapist, those were folks that really were instrumental in helping me. And then reaching out to a couple support groups that I'm in on Facebook was very helpful. And then I'm an ambassador advocate for Autism Tennessee. So learning those resources that are available, you just have to look for them. Now, my story is a little different because when she was 5, my middle daughter was abused in the school system here where we live, in the special education classroom. That changed my parenting completely. Again, it took it a totally different route. And I ended up seeking law, changing law in the state where we live to protect children. And so in that, I learned some of the resources that were out there, and they are there for folks. You just have to look for them. They're not sitting on a shelf. Even though, our local library, I helped to create a resource area in our library for parents because I needed it. And I know families need it. So you can come to our local library and we've got resources there, pamphlets and flyers and information from all the disability organizations in Nashville, Tennessee. So it makes it really easy for a family. But those were things that help empower me and make me not feel so alone. But I also was learning things that I could implement with my child and watching them overcome their challenges. And children are amazingly resilient and can overcome so much in their life. They have to have somebody help them and show them. My little guy, he didn't understand how you take a Lego block and put it on top of the other Lego block. He had to learn how to use toys. We take so many things for granted with our children. My middle daughter didn't say I love you till she was 4 because 2 of my kids were nonverbal. So we just take things for granted in this life. And that's where part of that embracing every moment comes from. because when you see these moments in life going, wow, okay, like that really is important, and that really meant a lot to hear that, and I just took for granted that I would just hear this from my child, you know. So all of those things, it's not a one-stop ingredient that helps, you know. um, it's kind of like a pot of pouring ingredients in to not only help you be more empowered, but your family be more empowered, and your children, you know, be more empowered, especially when you have a child with challenges. Um, so three things that I think are really important to help a parent be more empowered is it requires work on the parent's part. Because nothing great comes easy, right?
True.
And so one of them is being able to take ownership and responsibility for yourself and your actions and the things that you do in your life. Being able to be brave enough to look in that mirror and go, okay, what do I need to do to change about myself so I can be the best parent that I can be for my child? And being okay with that. Look at that ugly mess that we have, you know, the things that we've brought from our childhood, the baggage we're carrying, the broken beliefs that we have. You know, what do I need to do to fix that? And just be more aware, oh, okay, so that's where that comes from. You know, my oldest daughter, when she went to college, I cried for like a year before she even went. And then after she left, I was a mess. And after she left, it was like, oh, so this is my abandonment issues from my dad coming up. And it was like a light bulb that went off for me. And I went, wow, oh my gosh. Okay. I am so sorry I put anything on her. This is all on me. I've got to still heal this so that I don't put that on my child and make her feel bad about going away to college. This is where she is in her life. She needs to go. She needs to do that thing, you know, that they do at that age. And so we have to really look at those things about ourselves. So number two would be, is this is kind of a different conversation, but resonating. What are we vibrating and resonating at? And that means, what kind of energy are we carrying with us? Are we carrying anxiety, depression, frustration, anger? You know, what is it we're carrying around with us? Because our children pick up on everything. So, and even our spouses do, you know, or our roommates or whoever we're living with, you know. Especially when you're an empathic, intuitive person, you can just look at someone and go, okay, what's going on with you? And they'll go, nothing. And you go, no, you're lying. I can tell by looking at you.
It sounds
I don't
like
know.
something I'm familiar with.
Yeah. So all those empaths, put a 1 in the chat box out there, right? Because it is an interesting life, let me tell you. So yeah, so what is your resonance, your vibration? What energy are you carrying with you? I think is really important. And then what is your motivation for the things that you do? Like, what are you motivating? Are you making a decision to do something right now because it's coming from fear or anger or jealousy or brokenness from your childhood? Where is that coming from? So that if you focus on these things, I'm telling you, things will change for you as a parent. You know, if you will apply for your child I call it the triangle: athletics, arts, and academics, it really allows a child to be more balanced, even if they don't do it professionally, you know what I mean, or anything with it. But it allows them that athletics and the arts, especially for my children and for anyone, it allows that funnel for them to process whatever they need to process. You know, they can do it in a very safe environment. So when my kids were little and they were having whatever challenge, emotional, they couldn't talk about it, they're frustrated. Okay, draw it out, sing it out, dance it out, write it out, or play an instrument. Let's just get it out, and then we can talk about it, because then it's not so scary for them and they can calm down. So the three things that are helpful with children, that is one of them, is finding a funnel for them, a channel for them to express themselves in a way that's safe. And I always say legal, because we don't want them getting in trouble, you know, like don't jump off the roof, you know, because you have this moment.
Right.
We don't want them doing that. So,
Never.
you know, it's like, let's do something healthy. Okay. And, but it's safe, and it makes them feel empowered, and it makes them be able to have a way to work through whatever it is that they need to work through, you know? We're
Yes.
creative beings and we're meant to express ourselves creatively. And I am rambling on, Jan. I'm sorry.
No, it's fascinating. I love it. It's the creativity is just, it's just a beautiful way of expressing. And as you said, in a safe way. And it's a
Yeah.
constructive, safe way. And I'm just fascinated by that. However, as you said, we are almost at the tail end
I
of
know I
our
was
time
looking at the
together.
clock. Yes.
So I wanted to know if you could tell us a little bit about this free gift that
Oh, yes.
rumor has it that you're offering the audience today.
Yeah, and it's a downloadable from my website, and it's tips on helping your children get to a better mental health space. So one of them is the arts and being creative and the athletic part of running. There's running around, but it's also there is the downloadable has those. I think there's 7 or 10 on there of things that you can apply today, and that are very easy. You know, things like deep breathing. We take for granted how important that is, but deep breathing is very, very important. My 9-year-old who's autistic, he knows if I go, okay, buddy, in, exhala, out, exhala. I just use those words. It's Spanish, but you know, he goes, he does it with me, and then he's, he can calm down. And so it helps him to go, okay, now we can talk about what's going on. But also let them have a decompression area for themselves, like a little corner somewhere, you know, let them have a beanbag of books, set up a little lighting, you know, a fidget spinner or squishy ball, instead of books even. They just go over there and work it out for a little bit and then come back.
Love
And
that.
a lot of times, but that gives a child the empowerment to know, wow, I can work through this myself. Like I can kind of calm myself down, you know, I can regulate back to being, okay, we're grounded here, we're okay, you know.
This is true self-empowerment. I mean, you're teaching them the tools that they're going to need for life. And
Absolutely.
it's not just for people who have maybe certain challenges. It's for everyone, it sounds like, that
Yes.
truly can be beneficial to everybody. So yeah, I'm thrilled that you're offering these tips. And before we wrap up here, I just want to know if you have any last words of wisdom, any advice to share with the audience before we say sayonara.
Well, you know, I think it's important for us to help our children find their passion, help them to find a way to feel empowered in what they're doing and owning what they love, and that it's okay to do that. And if we can teach kids positive words, you know, I am amazing, I am strong on their worst days, right? And we can use those, you are amazing, you're fabulous, you know, then these are words they can take forever. But teaching our kids these tools is going to cut down on bullying, right? Because if a child can work through it, they don't have to take it out on somebody else or something else. So these, to me, they feel very simple, and they may not be to someone else, but to me, they feel very simple to be able to implement with your child. And again, reading and educating and researching is so important for not only you, but your child too. And you teach your child how to do that. You know, knowledge is power.
I was just about to say that. That's it's amazing. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Mary Elizabeth Jackson has just been with us, teaching us how to empower ourselves and our families. It's been an amazing time with you, and thank you for everything. Thank you for your gift. And I want to remind the attendees that we also have other speakers right directly following this. So feel free to peruse and sign up for the other talks. There's a speaker schedule in the chat here. And once again, thank you, Mary Elizabeth Jackson. You're amazing.
Thank you, Jan. I appreciate it so much. And I just love, love, love Voices of Women and the whole group. And I've listened to women all day long, and they've just been so inspirational. And Jan, I'd love to connect with you because you inspire me as well. So thank you so much for today.
Let's connect afterwards. Thank you so much. You inspire me. All right.
Thank you.
Be well, everyone. Cheers.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us for another amazing session of the Voices of Women Summit, where our mission is to raise the voices of hundreds of women so their messages can be heard. For recordings of all sessions, plus an amazing VIP gift bundle, upgrade to VIP now. If you have any questions or problems during the summit, email our support team at support@voicesofwomensummit.com. Stay tuned. We have another fantastic speaker coming right up.